Good afternoon, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers. And I'm here to help you build your cloud computing career. Maybe your goal is to become a cloud architect, or a solution architect, or an enterprise architect. Perhaps you desire to become a cloud engineer or a network engineer. Whatever you desire to become, I want to help you get there. My name is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers. I've spent more than 25 years now working in technology and over 2 decades helping people get their first tech job or get promoted in tech. And I want to help you get your first cloud architect job, your first solution architect job, your first cloud engineer job. And that's why we're here answering these questions live 3 times per week for you to help you build your career. So in this 2-hour session, you can ask us any questions that you desire. Ask us how to get that first cloud architect job or that first cloud engineer job. Let us know what to learn, the skills you need, which certifications will build your portfolio versus which certifications will hurt your career, because the right ones will build your career and portfolio and brand, and the wrong ones will actually be damaging, not only taking your time, effort, and money, but damaging your brand. So we're going to talk. You can ask me about anything that you desire. Ask me about your cloud architect resume. Ask me about what a cloud architect does, or a solution architect, how to become a cloud engineer, whatever you want. That's why we're here. So before we begin, I'd like to tell you about some opportunities to help you get cloud hired. First and foremost, because of what we see going on in the economy, and our team is going to produce a lot more information about that for you, we decided to offer 30% off of all of our costs. Inflation is sky high. Over the last 2 years, there's been over 12% inflation inside the US combined. And we know that's making it hard for people to live and survive. So the best way around that is to upgrade your salary, upgrade your career, and then inflation won't even matter to you. So that's why we have 30% discount off of all of our courses to help you reach your potential. And guess what? Our coupon code is potential, because I want you all getting cloud hired, cloud promoted, and we'll do anything we can to help you. And as the economy gets worse and the job market changes a little bit, we can also teach you how to stay hired if organizations do a layoff. And yes, you can get hired in a bad economy. And yes, you don't have to get laid off in a bad economy. And we're happy to help you with that. That's why we've done this, to upgrade your skills using coupon code potential. Next, let me tell you about some free things that we have coming up for you. Next week, we've got our completely free Azure Solution Architect Expert Bootcamp. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to run it like a real classroom. You'll come to class, we'll present for 20 minutes. You'll spend 10 minutes asking questions, just like you would in a real classroom. Because we want to know that you've got the knowledge in your head, the capabilities in your heart. So those are the kind of things that we're really talking about, and it matters. So we're there to help you. So completely free Solution Architect Expert Bootcamp. And trust me, it's not going to be one of these PowerPoint slides with audio torture things. I don't even know how anybody could produce any content like that, but I know that kind of stuff exists. We would never subject you to that kind of torture. It's going to be a live class, and we want you learning. So join us completely free next week. Sign up. The link is in the description below. Next thing I want to tell you is on Thursday this week, we have a How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. On this webinar, we'll tell you everything you need to know to get hired. We'll tell you what hiring managers are actually looking like for in a cloud architect. We'll tell you how to leverage your life experience to convince the hiring manager that you are hireable and critical. We will tell you what needs to be on your resume. We'll tell you which certifications will build the illusion of competency to help you get that interview. We'll teach you how to skip HR and go straight to the hiring manager so you can get hired. We're going to do that completely free on the webinar this Thursday, so please sign up. Now, we come here to help you build your career. So please ask us some questions about your goals, your dreams, etc., and we will help you how to get there. Just let us know and ask the questions. But while we're waiting for you to ask questions, since everything I do is about getting people hired, and the last week we got about 7 people for their first cloud architect jobs. Some of the people have never worked in tech in their life, and we do that every single day. And we're all about getting people cloud hired. So you can give me a hashtag cloud hired, plus put next to it the place that you're actually living or where you're at right now, and we would love to answer your question. Ciao, good afternoon. How are you today? It's so good to see you. Alonzo, good to see you. Welcome, everyone. Eddie Patrick over there in Cameroon. Good day, everyone, and I'm so happy you're here. Of Cornelius Nance, hi everyone, it's good to see you. Mademoiselle Goddess, that's an interesting name. Good afternoon, everyone. Anthony Gonzalez, good afternoon. You just passed your AWS COS exam. So not exactly sure, maybe means CO2 last week. Should you focus on the professional cert or finishing our cloud architect program? Well, Anthony, I don't know if you've started my cloud architect program, and I'm going to tell you this. The cloud architect program is what's going to get you hired. No certification will get anybody hired ever, ever, ever. Not for a job like this. This is a professional job. This is a job where you design, present, and sell. This is a job where you need extreme business acumen, and here's the reason why. When you go to the customer, your whole point and goal is digital transformation, and that's not covered in certifications. So the key is the following. Learn that. You've got to have the business acumen. Now, you also have to have the leadership skills because you're going to be leading large teams, and that's going to take you some time to develop. But you've got to have those leadership skills. Now, Anthony, in this job, we are going to be selling. And it will be impossible to get these jobs without developing your sales skills. I know you joined our program a couple of days ago, and we'll be teaching you these things. Now, you're also going to have to be an expert presenter. So make sure you develop those presentation skills they're taught in our program. Now, this is not a tech job where you can just be techie. You're going to have to be extremely emotionally intelligent. So start working on it now. That's something that, I've spent 20 some years perfecting. It takes a long time. So start working on it now. Then, Anthony, I don't know the level of your network and data center knowledge, and you can't get hired without that knowledge. Now, we do teach that in our program, and in our program, you'll learn that in 4 to 8 months. You'll get this deep network and data center knowledge, but, you need that. So in our program, you're going to be dealing with some BGP and some subnetting and some supernetting. In classes, we'll be talking about designing of our architectures, et cetera, and you need to know that. Next is involved learning design skills, which means understanding all that content in the network and the data center and learning how to design that. That's a critical part of the job. You won't clear an interview without it. So there's that. And then, Anthony, there's the resume stuff, et cetera, and there's that. Now, Anthony, I got to tell you, we don't like to see anyone ever apply for our job without having the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. And there's no knowledge in the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional that gets anybody hired. Zero. It's completely irrelevant to us. But the certification helps somebody get the interview. And we need that interview. So the reality is, if you actually know the cloud, you can pass that exam with 2 days preparation. I did it as a proof of concept. I took the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam, which is the hardest one out there, with 2 days preparation, and it was nothing. So if you learn the cloud, that's good. So Anthony, I would say focus on becoming a cloud architect. And then that certification you can do on a weekend. It's nothing. But you have to know how to become a cloud architect first. So if you want to get hired, you should focus on the job. Focus on learning the job. And here's why these certifications are completely worthless for architects, except for getting that interview. Here's the reason. The certifications tell you the name of the service, etc., and how to configure that service, which is great, Anthony, but here's the problem. Cloud architects or solution architects don't configure any services, ever. And the reality is, if we use any of these crazy service names to our customers, we'll be escorted out of the room, they'll laugh at us, and our replacements will thank us for the good job. Because our customers know what a virtual machine is. But if I call it an elastic compute instance, my CIOs are going to look at me like I've got 14 heads and say, Mike, you're trying to sell me something that's proprietary. I want an end-to-end multi-cloud solution. So there's that. So what I think you should do is focus on learning the cloud and doing our program. I also saw over the weekend, it looked like you ordered a consultation with us. My team is going to be in the process of setting that up with you. I did see that occurred over the weekend. So I know my team will be sending that to you. I asked Chris this morning to reach out to you as well as the other people this weekend that tried to purchase consultations to make sure that we get you on the schedule to give you the guidance you need. But focus on the job. The job is design, present, and sell. I'm going to say it again. It's design, present, and sell. And here's the reason why. In a normal business environment, here's what the design, present, and sell means. Most of us cloud architects or solution architects are pre-sales. So many of us work for an AWS, an Azure, a Cisco, a Nutanix, an AWS. It doesn't matter. There's millions. There's so many clouds out there. Most of us work for these companies, and we go to the customer. We ask the customer about their business goals, business pain points, and business challenges. From there, what we do is as follows. After we get the customer requirements, we go back to our organization. We then go sell the management to give us resources to work with so we can build a team of 50, 100 people. Cloud architects, cloud security architects, cloud network architects, IAM architects, DevOps engineers, SysOps, our maintenance people. And we build a team. And with this team, we design the architecture together with everybody's input. And that's why we have to be such good salespeople and such good leaders. Then, after the architecture is designed, we document it. We build a proof of, we present it to the customer. The customer says yes. We negotiate it for a while, and then they make us do a proof of concept, in which case the customer agrees to purchase the product if it works. And here you're going to have to lead a bunch of engineers to go do your proof of concept for you, because as architects, we design, present, and sell. So there's that. Now that's the design, present, and sell if you work like pre-sales, like the majority of us. But guess what, Anthony? There's a lot of architects that work post-sales. They still design, present, and sell. Here's what I mean. First thing we do, and I've worked as a post-sales architect, I go interview the CEO, the CIO, the CTO in that company, and I say, please tell me about your goals. I then go interview every department head and ask their goals and make sure their goals are in line and congruent with the executive's goals. At that point, I need to develop a solution. So I go back to my team and I ask all the official smart people I can to get together to design a solution. And then what do? I sell it back to the management of why they need my design, my proposal. So the architect is always a design, present, and sell position. And none of that's covered in certifications. A lot of that's covered in an MBA, but none of that's covered in a certification. So certifications just get to the interview. So if we're down to one thing, let's just teach you how to do the job. I got a lot of people hired last year, I think over 100. I'm going to tell you, some people got hired with 0 certifications. Many people got hired with just an associate. Many. But it was what was in here. Now, they wouldn't have gotten the interviews without our program, without our branding, without our resume training and our LinkedIn training. Our average student gets 10 to 15 interview requests per day because of that. So for us, it's less essential. So focus on the training, focus on getting cloud hired, not cloud certified. That's the goal anyway, cloud hired. Great question, Anthony. Shoot for the stars. Hi, everyone. Glad to be here. Hey, shoot for the stars. I'm glad you're here too. And up excited to be here. I'm glad you're here as well. And Anthony, yes, cloud hire. Byron once you've been hired initially in the beginning, are you paired with a more senior cloud architect that you work with side by side? Byron, this is a job that's not exactly going to be like that. See, here's the thing. As a cloud architect, you are paired with a sales rep. And your goal, Byron, is to help the sales rep sell. See, what happens is this is a job of design, present, and sell. And the reality is every cloud architect is a senior one. There are no junior level architects. Now, there are intro level architects called an associate, but it's still a 6-figure plus position. Now, our students get hired as architects as their first job because we give them extreme content and they know how to do the job. But here's the key thing, Byron. You're going to have to go in an interview and convince someone you know design, and you're going to have to present an architecture back to them. So the rule is they know that you know what you're doing when you get there. Now, when you get there, they have low expectations of you, and they will provide training for months as a rule. But who are you going to be paired up with? You are going to be paired up with a sales rep. And here's going to be your job. You're going to go with the sales rep to meet customers. You'll be buying customers lunch. You'll be giving presentations. You are a sales rep. You are a sales rep with a lab coat. You're the scientific sales rep. Now, in this job, you have to sell, and sell. And you have to know knowing how to sell before you get there. You have to know how to lead before you get there, and you have to make good presentations before you get there. Now, here's the thing, Byron. The architect, you will never be alone. It's a team sport. And here's why I say you need such business acumen, leadership, communication, sales skills, and emotional intelligence. Byron, on most architectures, you're not going to know where to begin. I'm not joking. In most architectures, you're going to have no idea where to begin. I've been an architect for 25 years and it doesn't get any better. Because if you keep growing as an architect, in the beginning you won't know what to do. And after 20 years, you're still not going to know what to do because they're going to say, hey, Mike, I need you to go figure out how to do this. No one in the world has ever done it before, but you've been doing stuff that nobody's ever done for the last 20 years. And guess what? It's your turn again. So Byron, when you get to these situations, what do? You go back to your manager and you sell you and the need for you. When you go to your manager, you'll quantify the opportunity. Mr. Manager, Mrs. Manager, I'm bidding on a $200 million cloud architecture. In this cloud architecture, I need a really great security architect. I also need a really great IAM architect. I also need some DevOps engineers to deploy this. I also need some this for this. Now, I also need some big data people. We're going to need some developers to do the development. And you get them in a room. And then you get them in the room, you lead them, you guide them. You buy them lunches, dinners, and drinks. You become their psychologist, their best friend. And you coach them into a beautiful solution, Byron. And then you write up that solution, you present, and then you document the solution, and you present it back to your customer, and you sell it. So, yeah, sure, you can probably find some mentor in your organization, and the companies may or may not give you a mentor, depending upon where you go. But it's up to you to have the sales skills, the communication skills, the soft skills, the executive presence, the empathy to go out there and conquer and ask people to work for you. So, Byron, there's an African expression. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And this architecture career is a career of go together. Architecture is a team sport. There's no one person that knows anything or everything, and you can't. Your goal is to have good, strong network and data center and cloud fundamentals. Strong, which is not covered in certification. And then take a problem and break it down into little problems. How do you do it? Well, I love elephants. I would never eat one. But if I had to eat an elephant, some big giant elephant, I'd have to do it one bite at a time. I don't eat elephants. I love elephants. I mean, I really love elephants. But the point is, if I had to eat an elephant, it would be one bite at a time because everything is unmanageable. So you've got a big problem, a big architecture where you don't even know where to begin. Break it down into little individual components. Build the right team. When you build the right team and your leadership skills are good, the solutions, your outcomes become so incredible, and you get noticed and you get promoted. So don't try and do it all yourself and think you can do it all. You can't. Live the dream. Build the leadership skills, the sales skills. Really show out how good you are compared to everybody else. You'll get cloud hired, you'll get cloud promoted, and you'll rise to any occasion. That's what I did. In fact, Byron, how much time did I do it? How much time do you spend entertaining clients as an architect? How much time has you spent buying lunches, dinners, and drinks? I gotta tell you, in 1 year, I spent $100,000 of company money entertaining clients for lunches, and about another $100,000 buying dinners and drinks to keep people, the product team, the customers happy. So use your resources, use your emotional intelligence, leadership skills, and build a team. Solve the customer problem, and you'll be good to go. But yes, you're always going to have at least a sales rep that you're going to be with. And hopefully that sales rep has not known, they know other people that they can connect you to and convince yourself to. My recommendation on your first day on the job, especially if you're in the office, go buy lunches, dinners, and drinks for everybody. On my first job, on my first day, I bought 50 people lunches. I'm not joking. It was a long time ago. I spent like $500 on lunch. It wasn't pleasant, but I did it. And here's why I did it. I got to know everybody and I introduced myself. And then when I needed to learn things and I was new, people were more willing to help me. So go out there and meet people. It's much more of a job of a team sport than an individual one. Byron, you should be great. So happy you're here. Please feel free to ask more subsequent questions to that question. Nate Robertson, cloud hired. Hello, Scott. It's good to see you. Welcome. Please ask some questions, or if not, just hang out. It's good to have you either way. Economy. AWS Solutions Architect passed the online test, was invited to a phone interview. Is this because my results were yellow and not green, straight to the loop? No, you're always going to be given a phone interview. Always, always, always. The reason somebody does a phone interview is as follows. They don't want to waste the time of all the employees. They know most people, or at least 50%, won't pass the phone interview. So here's what there is. There's an exam, and there's a phone interview. Yes, no, toss, toss, toss. And the whole point is this. The people that will interview you are expensive people, and their time is limited. Nobody in the world wants to waste time interviewing people that aren't capable. And the loop is meeting a whole bunch of high-value, expensive resources. So the point of doing the phone interview is to see, can they tolerate you? Would they be willing to work with you? Do you have anything basic just to qualify? So it's kind of like a pre-qualifier. It's kind of like when you want to go buy a house. They ask you to get pre-qualified for a mortgage. Everybody gets pre-qualified for the mortgage. Everybody. Or at least most everybody that has reasonable credit. Now, once you go from the pre-qualification to actual mortgage, that's where the work goes. That's where the proof of earning statements and bank statements, et cetera, comes from. The pre-qual is easy. So the phone call is like a pre-qual to see if they should spend their time speaking to you. So that's a good sign. And if you do this that are good, then they might have another phone screening exam too. And then if you do a good job, then they might bring you in for a real interview. So that's what people do. They basically prospect first and qualify. Remember, this is a sales thing too. You're trying to sell yourself to them. What do good people do in sales? They qualify the lead first. They make sure the lead's someone that they should spend their time on. That's what they're doing with you. They're seeing if they should spend their time talking to you. And that's the key. So do good on this, and it'll bring you in, and you can talk to them. So I hope I answered your question there, Economy. Excellent, excellent question. Please ask any more questions that you want, because I'd love to get you help, especially hired. There's at least 20 videos on interviews on my channel. I strongly suggest you do it. Chow from my team will give you the interview playlist. Byron's Ross, can you start with obtaining a CCNP as one of the certs needed to get an interview? Byron, I think you need to become an architect. You need to learn how to become an architect. So that's what I would focus on. Paper comes after the knowledge. What good is paper if you get 1,000 interviews and can't win any of them? So first, build the knowledge. The knowledge. Now, I know CCIEs that have gotten hired with no cloud interviews, no cloud certifications all the time. But really what's going on is it's the competency of the employer. See, here's what employers want, Byron. And certifications don't fit into this equation. Employers want technical competency, number one. So there's that. Then employers want trustworthiness. Next, employers want you to know what you know and know what you don't know so you don't make mistakes. Then employers are looking for energy, enthusiasm, and passion about the job. Then, after that, here's what they're talking about. Next, they're looking for people that are emotionally intelligent and bring out the best in others. And after that, then and only then are they concerned about you being a team player and someone that's willing to go above and beyond. You can get an interview with nothing. I'm not joking. After me and my students actually tune people's profile, they get 10 to 15 interview requests every day. But here's the thing. I will tell you this. The certifications help you get the interview. Heck, you can get an interview with a Certified Solution Architect Associate. Heck, I've seen people get interviews with a cloud practitioner, and I've seen people get interviews with nothing. But closing that interview, that's the part that goes from knowledge, and competency. Because the CCNP is a good certification. It teaches some routing protocols, how they work, how to configure them, which is great. But for the architect, there's no configuring ever. So it's just the knowledge that's going to be helpful. The BGP knowledge, the OSPF knowledge, the NAT knowledge, the VLAN knowledge, the VLAN tagging knowledge, the VLAN trunking knowledge, the switching knowledge, like the spanning tree, the rapid spanning tree, the knowledge of ARP and proxy ARP and IPsec tunnels and SSL-based VPN, that's really going to help you. And serial lines and Ethernet private lines and Ethernet over MPLS and software-defined networking and SASE, that is really going to make you a much better cloud architect. Give you lots of knowledge of DNS, ARP, proxy ARP, DHCP, etc. So it's going to help you get hired, but the knowledge, not the certification. But really, the key is optimizing your portfolio and looking like it. So Byron, I'm going to tell you this. I can tell you which people have a hard time getting interviewed. If I see someone that listened to the certification providers that said, here, get a developer associate, a sysops associate, and a DevOps associate, now I got a problem. And here's the reason. As an architect, as a digital transformation specialist, a leader, and an executive, and they have a brand. And when people get these maintenance certifications like sysops and the engineering certifications like DevOps and the developer certifications, please don't get them, Byron, because they make you look like everything other than an architect. They lower an architect's pay by 50% at best if the person's able to get hired. And I got to tell you, Byron, when you see these things on a resume and somebody's been on 10 interviews, I tell them to remove them from their resume because it destroys their brand. And you know what happens after that? Then we get them hired fast. Because here's the thing. An architect is a digital transformation specialist. And while we talk about certifications, I want you to really realize the positive and the negative. So if you wanted to go to a cardiologist, the world's greatest cardiologist, because someone you knew needed open heart surgery, so you wanted a cardiothoracic surgeon that was the best. Okay, so there's that. So let's say there's this situation. Who would you hire, Byron? The person that when they were 18 years old, did pre-med, 22 graduated, went to medical school, and did a 15-year, and did the residency and a 7-year fellowship, and they've been practicing medicine for 40 years. Or would you go to the person that, they were an airplane pilot for a little while, they went to law school for a little while, they were a dog walker for a little while, an accountant for a little while, a flight attendant for a little while, and then they decided, hey, I'm going to be a surgeon. And that's what happens when people get these ridiculous numbers of the wrong certifications. It becomes clear they're a jack of all trades and a master of none as opposed to an expert. So you can do the CCNP. Sure, it'll help you, but the CCNP will also help you a little bit for those other things. Sure, go ahead and do it. But most importantly, build the knowledge first, the capabilities first. And when you got all of that, then do the certification. Certifications are the last part because it's just an extra stamp on your resume that says, help me get an interview. But you can get the interview without it too, but you got to have knowledge. Hope I answered your question, and please ask more. Anthony, thank you so much. What you're doing is going to change your life and your family's life. That's the whole reason I do this. One of the things when Chris really had me start interviewing our students that got hired. And here's the reason why. I get people hired every day. So for me, it's kind of normal. Why do I need to make videos for this? And then Chris said, Mike, look, you got to be able to show the stories so other students in your program can see how the other people are getting hired. And when he showed me that the value of that was just sky high, and that's why periodically we release 1 or 2 cloud hired videos each week. We had lots and lots of people cloud hired. But one of the things about these videos that always breaks me cry is the students always say, Mike changed my life. This training changed my life. It changed my relationships. It changed my finances. It changed my capabilities. It changed our world. And that's why I do it. That's why I do it. Next week, you're going to hear from an amazing person. He's 21 years old. He had come to me, somebody that was going to help him in his career, charged him $35,000 for a CompTIA certification. He came to my channel when I asked a question after he did something that was supposed to level him up and give him career advice and opportunities. After spending $35,000 on a bogus certification, he came to me and said, Mike, what can I use the certification for? And I said, honestly, absolutely nothing. So the person did very well. He became our student. And now you'll hear his story next week. An amazing young man that came to us that's in his 20s. He just turned 21 a few weeks ago. That's now a working cloud architect. It'll be a really story for all to understand. And that's why we do it. We do it to show that any of you, anyone that wants to be a cloud architect or cloud engineer can be. You don't need to start at the bottom. I never did. I never had an admin job. I never had a help desk job, and I encourage you all strongly not to go down there. Start with the career you want. And how do you get the career you want? You train right. Doctors don't start as, let me see if I can be the receptionist first, and then a medical assistant, and then a nurse, and then a nurse practitioner, and then a doctor. They go to medical school. And that's what we've done. We've created a cloud architect school. And that way our students get hired. And we can't wait till you get hired too. Anthony, I'm looking forward to that one-on-one conversation we have. And look forward to meeting you in class tomorrow. Hope to see you in class. Chris or Chow, if you want to bring in the next one. While we're at it, for anybody that's new, that just got here, we're currently offering a 30% off promotion on all of our programs. I understand what's going on in the economy. Our team is going to be writing up some information about how do you keep your job and not get laid off in an economy. I've not been laid off ever, and I've been through 20-some layoffs. And you know what? Over the last 20 years of the people that I coached, I've only had one person that ever got laid off. He got a 6-figure severance and a $300,000 job within 7 days. So he was pretty thankful for that layoff, let me tell you. But I've never had anybody other than that got laid off because I coach my people to have all the skills that companies desire. So we're producing this 30% discount code because inflation is sky high, and we want to help you get hired, raise your salary, raise your income so you can have the life of your dreams. Don't let this inflation bother you. Raise your salary. Add an extra $100,000 to your salary. And then extra inflation, gas prices, they don't matter to you. So that's the way we help you fight all the economic changes that are going on. We'll keep you from getting laid off during a downtime. We'll teach you how to get hired during bad economic times. I got hired in a recession multiple times, and I've never been laid off, and you don't need to either. So in our program, we will help you get hired, stay hired, and get promoted. And we're doing it all 30% off to help you deal with these scary inflation rates, which is up 12.3% in the last 2 years, April to April. So pretty scary. When we add 8% this year and about 4% the previous year, that's 12% inflation in less than 2 years. That's robbing people of their savings by 12%. Salaries are not keeping up with inflation, but we can help you earn more, live a better life, and get yourselves cloud hired or cloud promoted. So that's why we've got 30% off discount using the coupon code potential off of everything we do. Now, Chris, you can bring in the next question. And if you're having a good time, if you can like and comment or subscribe to our channel. How is the job market for cloud engineering? Well, Claudia, I'm going to tell you this. The architect market is a lot better than the engineering market. And in the next 6 months to a year, the architect market will be much better than the engineering market. But my 3 favorite careers right now are the following: the cloud architect career, which we teach, the cloud engineer career, which we teach, and the DevOps engineer career, which we don't teach because I'm not a software developer. And it wouldn't be fair as a non-software developer to teach a DevOps class. I'd be like one of the certification people that are teaching courses. They have no understanding what they'd be teaching, and the people would never get hired. And that's why we do what we do, to take people and get them hired. So how is the job market for cloud engineer? It's good. And here's the reason why I say architecture is better. Well, you've got 2 things. Well, architecture and engineering are different careers. Architecture always pays better and has more career potential. So I did a little engineering in the beginning of my career. I got out of that and moved into architecture as fast as I could. But I loved my time in engineering, and I love my time in architecture. Here's the thing. If you like to design, present, and sell, you're going to be bored as an engineer and love it as an architect. That's me. If you like to sit behind a desk and you like to code and like to configure, then the cloud engineer role is good for you. Now, here's the thing that's going on. As the economy gets rougher, as inflation heats up, as costs go up, and we enter a potential recession, I want you to really understand the difference between who gets hired and who gets fired. So right now, we've had 1 negative quarter of GDP growth. 2 negative quarters of GDP growth that are consecutive equals a recession. Now, having said all of this, when we start taking the previous quarter's GDP and then we suck out inflation to normalize it from nominal dollars to real dollars, it's questionable as if we're already in a recession. Now, you've got Jamie Dimon, the CEO of the world's largest bank, that have basically said, look, we went from the fear of a recession to a hurricane warning we're expecting to be really bad. We've got billionaires like Elon Musk that really know the economy that are looking at it bad. Every economist that I know is looking at it and saying, this is not looking too good. I've got a massive macroeconomics background and I'm forecasting a recession. Now, in a recession, who gets hired and who gets fired? The people that get hired are the following: the people that bring in money. The people that bring in money never are the last to get laid off. So who are the people that bring in money? Sales reps, sales engineers, cloud architects, anybody involved in the design, process, and sell world. We bring in money. So in a bad economy, I go meet with a client and I bring in a $400 million architecture. I just brought the company $400 million. They can't lay me off. Now, next, we need a team of engineers to build it, cloud engineers. So they are a good field right now. And the cloud engineers will continue to be a good field. And here's the reason why. The cloud is cheaper in a lot of cases than the data center, especially for real cloud computing people that understand private clouds and public clouds. Look, we're not talking about some certification junkie that's got 10 AWS certifications and has no idea about the cloud. We're talking about a real cloud engineer, like the kind of people we teach, that know how to deal with private clouds such as OpenStack and Nutanix, and they know multiple clouds, because we teach our students every cloud, because there's no way you can work and just know the AWS or just the Google or just the Azure. We teach them all to everybody. It's part of knowing. Learn how to drive a car versus learn how to drive a Mercedes and get special training for a Honda. We teach people how to navigate everything. So we like the cloud architect role because it's bringing in money. Now, the cloud engineer role, somebody's got to build the architect's designs. Now, here's the danger in the cloud engineering role. Does it matter where your cloud engineer is? Does it matter if they're in New York City and expensive, if they're in Bangalore, India, or if they're in Cameroon, or if they're in Cape Town, South Africa, or Lagos, Nigeria, or New Zealand? It doesn't matter at all. So engineering positions are easy to outsource. So cloud architect jobs, impossible to outsource for the most part. Cloud engineering jobs, outsourceable. Now, for the next 2 to 3 years, Claudia, I think you're fine as a cloud engineer, and here's the reason why. Maybe even 10 years. There's such a shortage of capable cloud engineers. There's a gazillion and one certification junkies who are not hireable for anything, but there's a shortage of qualified engineers, so I still think they're good. So cloud architects bring in money, totally safe. Cloud engineers build the transformational thing that somebody else sold, probably safe. Now, what does a DevOps engineer do? A DevOps engineer automates. So when the economy gets rough and a company says, I need to lay off all these people, we use those DevOps engineers to do the following: deploy things faster, infrastructure as code, improve deployment speed of software. So again, that's a critical role because it saves money. One DevOps engineer can help a company fire 20 cloud admins. Who needs them anymore? So there's that. Now, which jobs die? Admin jobs, anything that costs money. Stuff in the marketing department, marketing and sales, marketing and branding, that stuff often goes. Things in the product development department often go. There's less R&D when a company's in a recession. The people that admin stuff, we don't need them. We can swap them out without. And also think about these junior engineering jobs. You know, the kind where the people don't focus on their leadership skills, their sales skills, their emotional intelligence. They only know how to configure. And they don't focus on the why, they focus on the first certification skills. Think about it this way. Would you pay a $70 engineer in America or a $10 engineer somewhere else in the world that can do the same job? And that's the key. So cloud admins aren't going to get new jobs because all the companies are going to be laying off their admins. And the admins people stick around stuck. The help desk people stick around stuck. And there's no place to put them. So when things change structurally, the people at the bottom are moved out and middle management is moved out. Cloud admins, they're going to be lost, gone. And if you need a cloud admin, you don't need to hire one in the US. You don't need to hire one in the UK. You don't need to hire one in Canada and pay a high salary. You can find someone in the lowest cost of living part of the world to do that work. So those kind of jobs get globalized, outsourced, and lost. So stay out of the admin jobs because those kind of basic intro jobs, they get crushed in a bad economy. So middle management gets crushed and expenses get crushed. What are expenses? Junior level jobs like admin stuff, help desk stuff, behind the scenes operation stuff. That's what gets cut. So how's the job market for cloud engineering? It's currently good. I see it continue to be good, but I think the architecture world is much better in tough economic times because the architect is a digital transformation specialist. Companies hire us, even bad times, to help them save money and operate more efficiently and produce more revenue. So we don't go away. The salespeople are needed more. It's the operations, the expensive people, that middle management, the people that you can do without or replace cheaper, especially through arbitrage by going to another part of the world. Keep that in the back of your mind as we start navigating challenging economies with high levels of inflation. And also, the unemployment number looks good in the US, meaning it's really high. Having said that, we have something called the labor participation rate, which is really low. And here's what this means. Let's say you've got 100 people. If all 100 are hired, you've got 0% unemployment. Let's say you've got 50% of the people that say, I can't get hired and quit looking for jobs. And only 50% of people get hired. Guess what? That's still 0% unemployment, because unemployment only counts people that are looking for a job. So if somebody quits looking for a job, guess what? They're no longer unemployed according to unemployment statistics. So keep that in the back of your mind. So what we're seeing is a relatively hot labor market in terms of unemployment rate, but a relatively low labor participation rate, showing a lot of people just giving up trying to get jobs. Keep that in the back of your mind as we start doing things. And now you know about the job market for engineering and also what's going up and down in the economy. So here's the thing, A&E, the cloud admins won't be moving to new roles. They'll be sitting on the unemployment line, unemployed for a very long time because we don't need them. I have one DevOps engineer. With infrastructure as code, they can replace all of what those admins do. So here's the thing for the cloud admins. They've got to get some new skills, study some sales skills, some leadership skills, some business skills, improve their energy, enthusiasm, and passion, and get skills that provide value to the company, that are an asset to the company as opposed to the cost. So, for example, if the admin knows how to sell, it's great. You can move into a sales role. If the admin knows how things work as opposed to just how to configure them, and they learn other things, then they can start to migrate towards engineering roles, the kind of engineering roles that'll stay, sales engineering roles, etc. So the key is when somebody has a skill that can easily outsourced and replaceable, don't hold on to that skill. Use that skill as a stepping stone. I'm employed and I have money right now. Good. Well, I have this. Don't get comfortable. Get the skills that are really in demand, and then you'll be good to go. I like to say that luck is when preparation meets opportunity, and they kind of get married together. I predict some challenging economic times are coming. Our team, there's 3 of us on our team that are actually working on this constantly, following the economy. I have a massive macroeconomics and microeconomics background, and the rest of my team all has MBAs and also has a pretty strong economics background. So we watch this long. We will be producing magazine articles in public magazines, most likely, because we write magazine articles every week. You'll see us talked about in magazines on the way we get people hired, because we're super successful in getting people their first cloud architect job and getting people out of basic jobs like admin jobs. So there's that. So now you know what's going on in the economy and how to navigate around it. And you can be great. You can be great. Doesn't matter your starting point. I used to practice medicine. I did. I spent 8 years where I couldn't walk, doing 8 hours of physical therapy per day. So there's that. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind, and you should be good to go. Chris, if you want to bring in the next question or multi-part questions, I love this. I love connecting with the community. If you guys are not subscribers, please subscribe and hit the bell. If you're having a good time, can you hit the like button? Help signal the algorithm and tell people we do good work around here. Now, you want to be a cloud architect, use research as much as you could in the career. It seems like a very senior role. Oh, somewhat senior. You don't have a tech background whatsoever. That's okay. We've got lots of people with no tech background hired. Then you say that you can get someone out of tech into these senior careers. Honestly, considering each, that sounds off. Well, I got 100 people that did it this year. I'm not saying you're a fraud. What you're actually saying is that we have to live with the realities about life. We do. You can't just come from nowhere and occupy big offices. Nonsense. I did it. My students do it every day. Just tell some truth that we don't want to hear. I'm going to tell you right now, this is possible, and my students do it every day of the week. Now, if you don't believe you can do it, I promise you, you can't do it. I promise you, if you don't believe in yourself, you can't do it. Now, Nally, the reason people say this can't be done is as follows. Most people have been told to start at the bottom. And here's what they do. They get these skills, admin skills, how to configure something. Now, here's the thing. How to configure something is 1000% irrelevant to the architect. We don't configure. When was the last time I configured something? I can tell you right now. 2000, and not even. Prior to 2000. Why? Because that's when I left engineering and went into architecture, and architects don't do this. So again, starting at the bottom provides no assets. And then what people do is, oh, I'm going to become an engineer. And now they learn a unique set of skills, engineering, coding and deep technical work. And now they're an engineer. And now they want to become a cloud architect. You know what happens? They tell their manager, I want to be a cloud architect. And the cloud manager says, no, I can't hire you. And the engineers say, what? And they say, I can't. So the engineers get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more certifications, and they still can't get hired. And here's the reason. Training for somebody else's job, like an engineer or an admin, doesn't teach you architecture at all. Not at all. I was told 20-some years ago when I was practicing internal medicine, and I had no tech background, Mike, you can't be a network engineer. Of course you can't. You can become a network admin. You can be in help desk, do that for 5 years. Then 5 years as a junior engineer, and then you can be a regular engineer. Well, I got to tell you this. On my first job, I was a senior network engineer. And within 6 months, I was the lead architect at the world's largest ISP. And I was from medicine first. But what did I do? I read 1,000 pages a day every single day of the week. So look at our YouTube channel. Look at Romanik Ivan Tamba. He just got his first job by AWS, and his last job was serving food while he was in school. Look at Jordan Kitko on our YouTube channel. Jordan got his first job as soon as he graduated. I mean, that's just simple examples. Next week, I'm going to have a 21-year-old that just got hired by the world's largest bank. And he's going to be talking about how he went from nothing to his first cloud architect job, and you can all too. So Nally, it's up to you. I did it. I had 100 students do it this year. They focused on capability. Experience is worthless. Experience means you've done something for a long period of time. Who do you hire? An 8-year-old little girl with pigtails that's really cute that breaks into the Pentagon, MI5, MI6, and the Israeli Mossad. Or somebody else that's got 30 years experience that got defeated by the 8-year-old little girl. Who's more competent? The 30-year-old experience or the 8-year-old? The 8-year-old. So it's up to you, Nally, how you choose to do your training, how you choose to do your education. It's up to you. If you get certified and get all 10 certifications, I promise you, if you're lucky, you'll get an admin job. And then after that, if you're lucky to spend 5 to 10 years in engineering, you can do that. And then after that, you'll need training to become an architect. Design training, presentation training, sales training, leadership training, emotional intelligence training. And I'm going to tell you, the hardest thing is going to go from an engineer to an architect. And here's why. Once you've been an engineer for a long time, nobody sees you as an architect. Not at all. You want to know how bad it is, Nally? Many years ago, like 20-some years ago, I was a really, really good multicast engineer. In fact, I was so good that I was responsible for 25% of a company's business. Not only that, I was one of 5 guys in the entire world known to be an expert on multicast. And of course, I had less than 2 years experience at the time. And I was traveling 300,000 miles a year to talk about it. So that's what I did. And that was where my background was. And then I said to my manager, oh, you got a director level position. I want it. And he says, Mike, you can't have it. And I said, why? And he says, you're too good of an engineer. I can't let you do this. So I quit that job, went to another company, became an architect, and did great. But it's up to you and how you choose to do your job. There are no rules in life. There's no one that says you have to start in the bottom. Now, there are places that have caste, and if you're born in the bottom caste, you're stuck there. But for the rest of us that have the opportunity to learn what we learn, train the way we train, and get hired, get hired. There's nothing that I'm not hiding from you. My students get hired every single day. Every day there's a cloud hired. There was 7 of them last week. You can ask my students that are on this call. Hey, Chow, how many people got hired? Alonzo, how many people got hired? Chris, how many people got hired in the last year? How many people get 15 interviews per week or per day that have never touched the cloud in their life? All my students. Why? Because they have the cloud architect brand. So I promise you, certification won't do it. And the certification providers can't get anybody hired. That's why I created my program. Here's what I did. And here's why I created this program a year ago. I created it for one reason. I was trying, yeah, like Alonzo says, we're losing count. I can't even keep track of it. There's a new cloud hired every day. But, that's what we do. Our students get hired, and we're great at it. And there you go. You've got students informed they got hired. Charles telling you every class. Alonzo says they're losing. It's all about mentality, as Chris is telling you. If you want to accomplish something, you could. If you don't believe you can, you can't. And I got to tell you, if you don't think you can get hired as an architect, don't even bother. You're not going to. When you believe in your skills and you train right and you learn the following, this is what you need to know from the network. BGP, and it's not covered in these certifications. OSPF, and it's not covered in the certifications. IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting design. And that's not covered in certifications either. This is the job of the most senior network architect in reality, because this is complicated stuff. If you need to understand switching, which means spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, VLAN, private VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, you need to understand switching concepts like port channel, ether channel, link aggregation groups. You must understand connectivity, such as IPsec tunnels, SSL-based tunnels, Ethernet private lines, WAN links like serial links, for example, etc., optical WAN links, Ethernet over MPLS, software-defined networking, and SaaS. You got to know this stuff because you need to be able to design it. It's not covered in certifications, which is why the certified people can't get these people hired. Then, how's ARP working, and proxy ARP, and DNS and DHCP, and how do you tune that stuff? That's reality. That's some things that our engineers need to do. And our engineers need to know traffic engineering and rate limiting and quality of service. They must know this. This is just some of the many things on the networking side, such as NAT. And when people, I can tell when they're certified and not knowledgeable, they think NAT just goes to the internet. They don't know about when companies buy each other, static NAT, dynamic NAT, and pattern. You need to know those. And you must know servers and server virtualization and container orchestration. And you must understand the databases, when to use a NoSQL database versus a relational database and how to scale them, because they all scale differently. And you must understand block storage, object storage, and file storage, how they work and how to architect it. And again, we're dealing with thousands of pages deeper than what's covered in certification. That doesn't even scratch the surface. And you need to understand next generation firewalls and VPN concentrators and IDS, IPS systems, and how to architect this stuff, how it all goes together. Load balancers, etc. That's the stuff we work with. Then, but you got to remember, this is a design, present, and sell class. So you must have expert system design. And you must have leadership skills. And because we're going to be selling, you must have sales skills. And because you have to show the customer that, if they buy $1 billion solution, they're going to get $3 billion of business value. This means you need to have enough business acumen to be able to do some ROI modeling, because we architects do it all the time. This also means you need to know what to say to the CEO versus the CIO versus the CTO. Have to have that knowledge. You need to know, you'll be presenting at conferences constantly, so you need to have the gravitas or the executive presence and the je ne sais quoi to do it. And because you're going to be selling, you've got to know how to sell, and you're going to be entertaining clients. So do that and you're there. That's what we teach, and that's why our students get hired. But if you just think you're going to start at the bottom and learn these skills along the way, you won't. You'll still need special training. That's why the cloud architect is elusive for people, because they're trying to do tech for a non-tech job. It's 50% tech, 50% leadership. And that's why people aren't getting hired. They got the wrong skills. Our students get hired every day. I can't keep track of them. And I'm telling you, if you change your attitude and get your goals, you'll get there. And if you want to learn how, join us on our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar on Thursday. It's completely free. Our students get hired every day. So I suggest you develop some confidence in yourself, learn the right skills, and figure out what you want to do, and run towards your goals and get there. That's what our students do, and that's why they're successful. Chris, you want to bring in the next one? Hi, Mike. Which type of cloud engineer is best in job market, money, and happiness? That's up to you. Cloudy, what do you enjoy? I don't know what you enjoy. If you enjoy networking, cloud network engineering is good. If you enjoy security, cloud security is good. If you're really obsessed with IAM, a cloud IAM engineer is good. What makes you happy? That's the key. For me, And I mean this. There's no cloud engineer job that would make me happy. Now, I have the deepest respect for cloud engineers, but I will not code ever. I hate it. I took a 3-day coding course at Sun Microsystems 25 years ago. And I got out of that and said, if I ever have to do this, I'm changing careers because I will never code. I hate it. So as architects, we don't code. But what makes you happy, Claudia? That's the thing. What makes you happy? And here's why. I love BGP. I'm not joking. I have more than 10,000 hours designing BGP things because I love it. So for me to try and learn the BGP finite state machine and think about the header in a BGP update message is nothing to me because I love it. Now, if I hated it, it would be the worst thing in the world to me. So Cloudy, what makes you happy? That's the best kind of cloud engineer. Now, you can make money anyway. I'm going to tell you right now, the way you make more money in tech is to have more soft skills and more empathy. To say this right now, soft skills and emotional intelligence. And empathy is the most critical. And here's the reason why, Claudia. On average, training soft skills raises somebody's salary by 30%. On average, training someone emotional intelligence raises their salary by $29,600 per year. So now soft skills and emotional intelligence kind of training can add $60,000 to $100,000 to somebody's job every year. So at the low end, that's about $1.8 million in a 30-year career. And at the high end, it's about $3 million in a career. So which kind of cloud engineer is the best? The most emotionally intelligent one with the best soft skills and leadership skills. That's how you make more money. And guess what? As a rule, the better your soft skills, empathy, and communication skills are, the better relationships you'll have with people, which again means to more happiness. So that's what I would train. But Claudia, you can optimize your architecture career, engineering career any way you want. Look at me. I can practice medicine. So if I go to a global healthcare organization as their cloud architect, and I've got knowledge about their business, the solutions I can create are much better because they're industry relevant because I'm an expert on the industry. And you could do that. So you could also become an expert in industry, the transportation industry, the consumer products and retail industry, the banking industry, the healthcare industry, the supply chain industry. Master something, tie good communication skills with good leadership skills, with good emotional intelligence, business knowledge, business acumen, CXO relevancy. And then the engineers are making a couple $100,000 a year too. And that's why Claudia, in our cloud engineering program, we teach these skills too. You know why else we teach them? It gets people more likely to get hired. You know why else we teach them? In an economy, a down economy, these people don't get laid off because they're better. They're more desirable by the employer. So those are the things I recommend. Find what you love, do what you love, and then you're there. Claudia, if you could start all over, would you do engineering architecture? There's no question in my mind. I went to architecture as fast as I could and got out engineering as fast as I can because I don't like to sit behind a desk. I don't like being the hands-on techie, and I don't like it for the following reason. When I was a hands-on techie, I saw the way the architects were being treated, and I was working longer hours for half the pay. And I was like, wait a second. We've got these people over here earning a ton of money to go sell something, and here I got to go fix their mistakes. I'm doing their job for them, and I'm getting paid half. So what did I do? I got out of engineering as fast as I could and moved into architecture. But I like to talk to people. I like to present. If you want to make me code, that looks like worse than dental torture. Horrible, horrible, horrible. It kills me. I took a 3-day coding class at Sun Microsystems, and I got to tell you, by the end of that, I knew I never wanted to code anything in my entire life or even run a script, which was fine because I knew that and I got out of it. But that was me. What about somebody else? Somebody that doesn't like to be presenting at industry conferences. Someone else that doesn't like to sell. Someone else that doesn't like engineering clients, but they love to code. I got a buddy that loves to code. In fact, I even have a friend, Moses. I've offered him for 20 years to get him out of engineering, but he loves it. I go to his house. I ring the doorbell. There's a photo of me taken. He's getting text messages. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible how much tech he has. I remember 25 years ago, back on my black and white BlackBerry, he had to order a pizza over the internet to prove that it could be done. It took him 15 minutes. And I said, okay, can I show you my way? I called him, it was done in 60 seconds by placing a phone call. This guy's got electrical switches. He taps, he sings, and it changes the colors of the light in his house. He loves it. He's an engineer. So really, for me, I would not have been an engineer for 6 months. I'd have gone straight to being an architect. But that's me. I love architecture. I love design. I love presentations. I like writing articles for magazines. I'm an architect at heart. I don't like touching tech. It gives me a headache. I don't like looking at a computer screen. That's me. So, Cloudy, if I could start it all over again, I'd start with what I loved. I wouldn't have studied internal medicine first. I'd been straight to an architect. Well, I kind of did that because I went straight from medicine. I became a senior network engineer for 6 months. Within 6 months, I was a lead architect, and I've been an architect ever since. And I got to tell you, I preferred it more, but that's me personally. Take my team. For example, my COO. He'd probably enjoy coding more than he'd enjoy giving a sales presentation in front of a 25,000 person audience. He could do both, but he likes that. Me, by comparison, fly me to Dubai and give a speech in front of 100,000 people. I'm in. Fly me to the UK, give a speech in front of 20,000 people. I'm in. That's what my life was like. I'd leave my house in Palm Beach. I'd fly to San Jose. I'd do a couple executive briefings. I'd go to London to give a speech. I'd go to Dubai to give a speech. I'd be in Australia a couple days later to give a speech. That was my life. That's what I enjoy. So you got to do what you love. Do what you're passionate about. That's the secret of success. Master the career you desire, not somebody else's. Best advice I can give you. If somebody gave me that earlier, I wouldn't have done several of the things that I actually did do. Open up. You love all the stories, you know. That's why I tell you, so people can learn examples from my life. Alonzo loves hearing the stories of how we started and how we got people hired. Yeah, it's true. We have to share these things. You know, the reality is this. You know, because people are used to what I consider garbage training, and we started this company because of the garbage training was out there. The name of the service and how to configure that service, because that doesn't create engineers or architects. And when I saw what existed, I felt compelled. That's why we do our free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate training on our YouTube channel. That's why we did the AWS Advanced Networking, which is on our YouTube channel. That's why we did the CCNA completely for free on our YouTube channel. And guess what? That's why we're doing the Azure Solution Architect Expert Bootcamp completely free on our channel, because we saw it was out there and we were horrified. So we just decided to say, here, you can have what they do for free. It's free. Here, go have it. And then we do for pay what we do, which is take people and get them hired. That's our world. We just get people hired. So that's how we do it. So please join us on Thursday for our completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. We'll tell you everything you need to know to get hired. First, we'll tell you the following. We'll tell you how to leverage your life experience. 2, we're going to tell you the exact thing that hiring managers desire. 3, we're going to go over the job for real so you know exactly what the job is. 4, we're going to tell you exactly how to be great at the job, what your resume needs to look like, what kind of certifications create the illusion of competency. 6, 5, we're going to teach you how to skip HR so you can get hired and go directly to the hiring manager. So it's going to be a good discussion. We get typically 50 to 100 people from all over the world every time. Love to see you join us. Chris, you can bring in the next time. And that's the key when I talk about certifications create the illusion of competency. There is no competency that comes from certifications. It just looks good. It creates the illusion enough to bring somebody in for an interview, because there is nothing in certifications that's really related to the job. Michael, do you recommend any societies, conventions, meeting groups, and colleagues and associated? Yes, absolutely. There are companies that have lots of good conferences. Cisco and Cisco Live, I'd be going to that. I would go to Palo Alto security conferences. I would go to Nutanix conferences. Yes. Red Hat has some incredible conferences that are out there. Unbelievable. F5 has some times where you can learn about their load balancers and their DNS systems, which are amazing. Dell EMC, I'm sure, is going to have something for storage where you can really get good on storage. Fortinet, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, Cisco, they all have them. So go to them. So go there, go there, go there. Now, I'm going to tell you something else. Read their documentation. Their documentation. It amazes me the number of people that won't go to Amazon, to Cisco, to Google, to Dell, and read their stuff. Read their stuff, Michael. There's that. Now, some other things that I recommend you do. If, guess what? You are not used to speaking, join Toastmasters. Join a presentation group and go out there and present, and present some more. Get involved with like some of these bigger conferences like NANOG, which is on the networking side. Get involved in the big stuff. Most of these things are sponsored by the vendors. You know why these conferences are good? I used to run conferences constantly. I was always there. Who's at these conferences? Leadership. Do you know how many people at these conferences that I met that I said, here's my card. Call me. I'll connect you to somebody for an interview. I want you on my team. Or I think you belong in this company. I did it all the time. Every time I would go to a conference, after people could see how I speak and I carry myself, Mike, do you want to work for me? Mike, do you want to work for me? Mike, do you want to work for me? I would speak at a HIMSS conference, a healthcare conference, and I get 15 job offers without looking. So yeah, go to these conferences. Now, when you go to these conferences, Michael, and I know you're an architect, dress nicely. At minimum, put a good collared shirt on, minimum. Reality, I usually go in a suit. I don't wear a tie. It's not me. I usually put a sport coat and a nice shirt on, make sure it's pressed, etc. Because I don't like wearing a tie. But I almost always go to a conference in a suit. And here's why. So it's your gravitas, or executive presence. Why just a difference in posture? Hi, I'm Michael. I'm an architect. You're not hiring this guy. How about this? Hello, I'm Michael Gibbs. I'm an architect and I'm here to help you. So just those changes are there. So dress right, go to the conferences right, strike up conversations with leaders. You're going to know who they are. You know how you know? Look at the way they walk. The management's going to win in. They're going to have that executive presence. Go introduce yourself. Go talk. Show that you're smart. Ask intelligent questions. And you might just get caught hired at some of these conferences. So that's one of those things that I strongly recommend. I used to send tons of people out of Toastmasters. Now, Michael, you have the opportunity to present in class. You also have the opportunity to submit your videos, and we'll give you lots of feedback. But you can never do enough presentations. All we do as architects is present. How much do we present? Well, Michael, here's what my life was like. Go to San Jose, present an executive briefing for at least in the morning. Then give another presentation. Get on a flight, give another presentation. Get on a flight, give another presentation. There was 1 week where I was in Australia where I delivered 57 presentations. Now, it was like an 80-hour week, and I did some on the weekends, but it was literally present to one hospital, go to the next, go to the next, go to the next, go to the next. Go to the, I don't, maybe it was 2 weeks, because I remember doing 50, it was probably 2 weeks. It was some ridiculous thing. By the time I got done, I don't even remember where I was at. So, it's kind of like that, but we just do so many presentations. So present. These are great places to go to really meet some people and get to know a lot of good people. Great question there, Michael. Excellent question. Do we have a program for GCP? All of our programs teach the AWS, Google, Azure, Nutanix, OpenStack. We teach the cloud. See, here's the thing. I can't teach people just GCP and expect them to have a career. They'll never get hired. I have to teach people the cloud. So I'm going to give you 2 examples. So let's say that I wanted to teach you how to drive. And you got in one car and we had an elastic vector angular changer. And then you got to another one and it had a cloud-based milliradian vector adapter. And then you went to something else that had a steering wheel. You'd be lost. Now, if I taught you how to drive and said, this is a steering wheel, and it works the same in all cards, there's all cards. So we teach the cloud. So if I teach you what a virtual machine is, and I will, and you'll be working with VMware, ESXi to know it. Then whether that virtual machine is a KVM virtual machine, a QEMU virtual machine, an AWS EC2 instance, a Google Compute Engine instance, an Azure virtual machine, an Oracle virtual machine, you'd realize it's just the same thing. And then if I taught you object storage, you'd look at it and say, okay, Mike, so whether it's AWS S3, Dell EMC object storage, Azure Blob, or Google Cloud Storage, it's the same thing. So all of our staff teach all clouds. It's unacceptable to build a career knowing only one cloud, and here's the cloud, and here's the reason. 87% of customers use more than one cloud. 97% plan to be within 12 months. What's that mean? It means if you only know Google, or only know AWS, or only know Azure, you're unemployed, because you need to know the cloud versus a cloud. Customers are demanding multi-cloud, and now you're seeing the big players like Microsoft and Oracle working together on multi-cloud stuff. You're seeing Nutanix working with others on multi-cloud. You're even seeing Google recommend multi-cloud too. So you're starting to see that. So all of our programs teach Google, all of them. And they all teach Azure, they all teach AWS, and they all teach OpenStack. Because there's no way you can be an architect with having cloud skills across multiple clouds. So we teach multiple clouds in every architecture. And Chris, you can bring in the next one. Eugene, great question. Who's someone who doesn't have a good math? I don't have a math background at all. In fact, have you ever seen Mr. Ed the Horse, where they'd ask him, what's 2 and 2, and he'd go, "Arr!" and he'd use his feet on the ground? That's me, Eugene. So this is not a math career. This is a leadership career, a sales career, an emotional intelligence career, a design career. For the most part, we're not doing a lot of calculations. There's a little binary math with networking, a little bit, but no big deal. There is a little bit of math and ROI modeling, but we can do it on an Excel spreadsheet. So we're fine with that. So I'm not a math person. Now, my wife, with her 170 IQ, and I'm not joking, she's got 170 IQ, and she can do calculus in her head. She's a math person, not me. I'm a verbal person. You know, college algebra to me sounds like a torture. Now, giving a speech in front of a 50,000 person audience and getting 99% of the people to give me a 5 out of 5, that I can do. Designing $1 billion architecture and selling it, yeah, I've done plenty of that. But math? No. That's not my skill. And yes, I've been working as an architect for 25 years because it's not really a big thing of ours. This is not like the old days. You know, I did an MBA at Drexel University when I was younger. I did half of the MBA there, and then I did a full MBA at another school. And while I was there, I had a problem with the MBA program. And we were doing math. And I remember asking the professor, what's the math mean? And he says, oh, don't worry about that. I'm like, you're having us do all this math in a marketing class, and you're not teaching us marketing. I'm like, what are we going to do with this math? And he's like, well, we got to calculate this, and this. I said, how do I apply that knowledge? And he couldn't answer me. And then we took an economics class. And great. They gave us all the math of the supply and demand curves and points. It was great, right? And I said, okay, you just missed consumer sentiment. What's consumer sentiment have here? Oh, it's all driven on computer. It's consumer sentiment. I said, yes, but you're only teaching us the technical piece of the math. People are not math. They're not logical. They behave based upon perception. So let's talk about the psychology of what goes on in economics, the sociology of economics, but they just wanted to teach math. So I left that MBA program, got a job that needed an MBA without the MBA, did it, and had a really, really good career. And then years later, I said, I'm bored. I want to finish the MBA. So I did a full MBA from scratch and focused on economics, my dream, and the things that I love most. That and management, because, it's all about leadership skills in our world. So I did those two things, but it's not a math career. This is an emotional career, a sales career, a presentation career, a leadership career, etc. That's this career: design, present, and sell. Claudia, you want to start as a cloud engineer, but later become a cloud architect? I would not recommend that at all. I would actually say that's the exact worst thing you can do. If you want to be an architect, I'd become an architect, not an engineer. If I wanted to become an engineer, I'd be an engineer. Why would you study somebody else's career, hopefully to get to another career? I'm going to tell you right now, the skills that you develop as an engineer, you're going to have to unlearn to become an architect. It's that bad. You're going to have to unlearn most of them. Now, having an engineering background will give you a little more technical competency, which is good, but comes with it the biggest challenge of your life, learning how not to be an engineer anymore. And this is the biggest challenge I have for my engineers. In many cases, it's easier for me to get a nurse or a psychologist or an accountant hired before I can get a cloud engineer hired as a cloud architect. And here's why. Tonight, Claudia, I want you to understand architecture. Go out tonight, and hopefully you're not in South Florida like me, where we're getting some clouds. Look at the big, beautiful sky. Look at the Big Dipper. Look at the Little Dipper. Look at the moon. Look at the constellations, and look at it all. That's architecture. The end-to-end high-level page. Go look at the ocean. See how big it is. Now tonight, you're going to turn you into an engineer. Take a telescope and zoom in at 200x magnification on the moon. Here's what you're going to see. A part of the moon. You won't even see the whole moon because you'll be too zoomed in. You'll see craters on the moon. You'll see refraction of light off the moon. But you won't even see the moon, and you definitely won't see the sky. As engineers, we must be zoomed in like we're staring at the moon. And we miss the big picture. So when people become an engineer first, they have a massive challenge to unlearn the engineering to become an architect. So if the architect is a job of design, present, and sell, and it's based upon sales, leadership, emotional intelligence, executive presence, etc., getting coding skills and configuring skills does not teach you how to design, present, and sell. Now, Claudia, if you become a cloud engineer first, you're going to also have to do something else. I love engineers because they make everything happen. But everybody has a brand. What's Apple's brand? Cool, fun, exciting. What's the engineer's brand? It's not reality. There's lots of good engineers. But the brand of the engineer is someone that doesn't like to talk. It's typically low levels of emotional intelligence and a techie. What's the ideal brand of the architect? And it's not true. There's lots of great engineers, but that's the typical brand management has. And I'll tell you, some people will never hire an engineer to be an architect for that reason. Other people like it. Now, the brand of the architect is an elite executive with design skills. Okay, super emotionally intelligent, super sales. So, Cloudy, if you want to be an architect, become an architect. If you want to be an engineer, stay an engineer. But I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a lot harder to take you from a cloud engineer to make you a cloud architect later than it would be to just make you a cloud architect in the first place. So, go with what you want. So, this is the thing that I would never, ever, ever recommend. I would never recommend training for a job you don't want long term. Train for the job you want. If you master someone else's career as a cloud engineer, you'll be a great cloud engineer. And you're going to have to work really hard, harder than if you learned architecture in the beginning, to unlearn all that engineering to go learn architecture. So here's what I would say. If you wanted to be a doctor who builds the plan, so the doctor builds the plan and the nurse carries out the plan. So the engineer is carrying out the plan. The architect is making the plan like the doctor. So would I ever recommend that somebody goes to school to be a nurse to go become a doctor later? I would say never. How about a flight attendant? The pilot flies the plane, the flight attendant makes sure the passengers get there safely. Same thing. Would you think that you'd become a better pilot by becoming a flight attendant first? No, it would make you a pilot that's trained on keeping people in their seats, which is not the useful skill. So I hear this, become an architect, become an engineer before an architect. Honestly, it's the worst plan and idea I've ever heard. I generally like to say to people, train for your job, not somebody else's. Get your job, not somebody else's. Get the job you want. Train for the job you want. If you wanted to go to a doctor and they were a dog walker and a lawyer and an accountant, would you think they're a better doctor? No. So don't master somebody else's career. Master your career. Get cloud hired, cloud promoted, and build a great career for yourself. Save yourself years and years of mistakes to getting to the top. Derek Tate, you're very excited to be part of the Glow.com team. As you mentioned before, the last course was only focused on various certs. Derek Tate, we're excited to be working with you. Hope to see you in a first class. You may have been in a class. Some of the classes get pretty big, but I am excited to work with you. We'll be thrilled to work with you. And can't wait till you and me and the rest of our team makes a video where you are cloud hired. I love making these Chris makes these videos for me, and I love when he makes these videos because I love watching people get cloud hired. So can't wait to get to cloud hired. And yes, that stuff that's only focused on certs will not get anybody hired. That's why we created our program. And welcome. Economy, as a solution architects, identifying ways to save money is encouraged, but it will damage your career. Economy, we are not accountants. Our goal is not trying to help customers save money. Our goal is to transform our customers' business. I'm going to say this again. Our job is not trying to squeeze pennies out of the equation. That's what engineers do. That's not what architects do. Architects drive transformation. So, which matters more to you, economy? I'll give you two examples. The company is currently spending $500 million a year on its tech budget, and with the right cloud movements, we can get it down to $450. Okay, good. We saved $50 million. Now, I want you to think about it this way. A better cloud architect that's not concerned about saving that money has a company that's spending $500 million currently on technology. I'm not going to try and help anybody save $50 million. I'm going to walk into that company and I'm going to say, tell me about your business. Well, Mike, we're trying to sell $8 billion more this year than last year. And I'm going to ask them, what's your sales pipeline? What's your sales funnel? And they're going to say, well, we've got this website where 80% of our sales come in. And I'm going to say, how's that working for you? And they're going to say, we're having some challenges on it. User experience isn't as good as it needs to be. Dwell time on the page is not as good to be. Bounce rate is too high. And I say, okay, if we can make your website 10% more effective, how much is that going to save you increase your sales per year? And they say $13 million or $13 billion. And I'm going to say, okay, so I've got a $200 million solution for you. It's going to cost you an extra 200, but I can get you 13 billion in sales. Are you interested? So economy, it's not about shaving costs. It's about making our businesses better. How do we increase businesses' performance? The easiest way is to increase top-line revenue. But that's why the cloud architect needs to be able to read a balance sheet. It's much more important to increase top-line revenue than it is to decrease expenses. So our goal is optimizing the business. Can we make people communicate better, which can produce new products better, faster, and cheaper? That matters more than saving on tech costs. Imagine a company that can produce 40% more product and sell more. That's what matters. So no, I don't focus on cost optimization. I focus on business optimization. And that's the difference between a financial professional and an accountant. An accountant, which is more engineering, is after the fact trying to say, hey, you spent all this money, you can save $1 here. The engineer that looks at the motherboard that says, we can save 3% on this chip, 2% on this chip to improve profitability. Yes, that's fine, good. The architect is more saying, how do I design this box to make 3 times the people want it? You think Steve Jobs was focused on driving price out of the apple? No, he was focused on making the product so desirable people wanted it. So now you know that's what the problem with being an engineer first is. The engineering teaches a mindset which is the exact opposite of the architect. It changes our thinking, it changes our thought structure. And when we learn the wrong careers first, it keeps us from getting to our goals. And that's the reason why. So yes, if we find opportunities to cut costs out, yeah, and that's what we're going to the cloud, to cut costs out. But really, the cloud may or may not be cheaper. In fact, if you believe Canonical's information, they'd say running a cloud in your own data center saves you 65% over dealing with the public clouds because you're buying the equipment and you're maintaining it yourself. I don't completely agree with it, but keep that in your mind. Business transformation, digital transformation, that can be anything. Improve sales, better supply chain, better collaboration, or cutting costs. Now you know why. So no, don't worry so much. Sell, sell, sell. Anthony, you've got a really good question. And here is the decision. I'm going to guide you how I did it. Loyalty pays, but good loyalty. There's a difference between loyalty and good loyalty. Anthony, here's the loyalty that doesn't pay. Someone that's a cog in a wheel, someone that goes in, does the same job, does a good enough job, good enough not to get laid off, they get a 2 to 3% pay per year. And then there's someone that goes in, that asks their manager's goals, that helps the manager achieve their goals. Someone that studies soft skills, leadership skills, emotional and intelligence, business acumen. Now that person gets huge raises. I got $100,000 of raises over the course of 2 years working for a company that I was at. and another huge one, much more than that, after that, because I found out what the company wanted me to do, and I achieved it. I've got a 24-year-old that I worked with right now, and he's now earning more than $250,000 a year. He's 24. He stayed at the same company. Well, he's been in two companies. The first company, and then which we got jumped, and then the next company. So Anthony, what I'd like to say is this. The better of a job you do in your first job, the less likely you are to have to jump jobs. Now, if you get your first job as an architect and it's only like $160,000, which is typical for one of our students, that $100,000 to $300,000 range for the most part, 90% are between the $100,000 and $300,000 range. I'd say average is around 130, 140, 160, depending upon where you're at, so to speak. If you're going in on there, you may leave after 2 years, get a $250,000 job there, and then just rise to the occasion. And that's probably what I would do. But no, joining the right company pays. No, there's two kinds of companies out there, Anthony. There's what I call the entrepreneurial companies and everybody else. Here's the difference. Some companies treat everybody equally. You come, you do your job, you get your salary, you get the same bonus, the same rating. In these companies, you will never, ever build a good career. If you're a good hard worker, they won't reward you, and all the good workers leave these companies. So what these companies get is a bunch of medium performers who all get 2 to 3% raises. And then there are entrepreneurial companies that reward performance, companies that will promote for performance, companies that will give you $100,000 worth of stock grants for performance. Now, these companies, everybody's not equal. You can have two people doing the same job. Cloud architect A earning $96,000 a year. This person's not super emotionally intelligent, doesn't have good presentations and skills. And on that same team, you'll have cloud architect B earning $280,000. And when the layoff comes, that bottom end cloud architect is laid off, not the high end. So there's that too. So there's that. So I've had 5 jobs in my career. My first job was at WorldCom. Now, I got to tell you, I loved it, wouldn't have left. But the WorldCom executives came in and they said, you got to buy the stock. Look what we're doing financially. And when I heard them speak and I looked, I got sick. I mean, I really got sick. So I had another job on Wall Street 3 days later. Now, when I worked on Wall Street, it doubled my salary. That was great. The only problem was it was 3 hours away from my house, even though it was only 40 miles away. So I was spending 6 hours a day commuting. So I left it and hated it. Then I went to a company called Comcast as a principal architect, responsible for their backbone. I stayed there not very long because I was bored to death. They had me doing all this engineering, not architecture work, and I hated it, so I was gone within a month. Then I went to a company called Riverstone. They took good care of me. And honestly, I never would have left Riverstone at all. I was there for 13 layoffs. Survived all 13 of them. Loved the company, loved the people. And when I was there, I said to my manager, I want to move into this leadership role. And he said, no, because you're too good in your current engineering architect role. And I went, okay, I'm out of here. And then I spent the rest of my career at Cisco. And truthfully, if I was not involved in an accident where I couldn't walk for a period of about 8 years, I'd have stayed at Cisco. I loved it at Cisco. And they took very good care of me. And I got promoted. And no, it wasn't 2 to 3% raises because I worked hard. So it all depends on you. I believe you be loyal to your company. They're loyal to you. But I also believe in opening up your opportunities for yourself. What do I mean by this? Care about your company. Treat your company like it's your own family, and they'll take good care of you. Excel, perform, outwork, outrun, outdo everybody, and watch your career rise. But if the company starts looking like it's faltering, you still have options. Like when I was at Riverstone, and I was there for 13 layoffs. I wasn't leaving because I loved the people and I loved the company. But when they used my engineering skills to hold me back, I went out of here like a Linston. And I was at Cisco a week later. And you know what? I got to tell you, that was a good decision. It was the right decision for me. So loyalty pays with the right company. And you know, that's the thing with anything else. Loyalty with the right friends matters. Loyalty with the wrong friends doesn't matter at all. I've got people that I've done so many things for that be grateful my whole life. And I've got people that I've done a ton of things for that basically didn't even say thank you. So you have to manage that and find that out. Do that and you'll be good to go. But personally, you got to live with yourself. I'm a loyal guy. I'm loyal to the people that take care of me and my family. And that's the way I feel. And we're going to be talking about some of that stuff tomorrow on our critical success factors for life show. which I encourage everybody to attend tomorrow night. Something happened which caused us to take some of the leadership training we would naturally only give internally to talk about it externally to help everybody because it's such a significant topic. So please join us tonight. Chris or somebody post a link to that show tomorrow night for the Head in the Cloud show with me, Alonzo, and Chris. But Anthony, one more thing. Always, 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 always constantly assess what's going on with you. I like the Air Force OODA loop model. Observe, orient, decide, and act. And I encourage you in your entire life to constantly observe what's going on. You see a change? Orient yourself to the change, make a decision, and act. And constantly check and recheck what's going on. Do that and you'll always be good to go. And then Chris, we can go to the next one. Eugene, can someone carry out 2 architect jobs at 2 different companies at the same time? Absolutely not. And here's the reason. You sign a non-disclosure agreement when you work for these companies. But Eugene, you wouldn't want to. I mean, seriously, you can earn $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 if you're really good at your job from a single company. There's no reason to do more. The key is if in these companies, the more you work, the more you're going to get paid. The better your sales are, the more you're going to get paid. So just do one at well. But no, you can't be at 2 companies at the same time. In most cases, it's not legal because the companies are publicly traded. And you'll have access to proprietary information of other people's companies. So no, you can't do this at the same time. Not at all. Now, you may be able to have your own cloud architecture consulting firm and work for somebody else, but even that's kind of tricky. So as a rule, you will not be allowed to do that, no. Not for these kind of jobs. It's not like serving food at 2 different restaurants where there's no competitive information. You're going to be dealing with customers that are going to be competing. So imagine you're designing a company for a bank and you're working at 2 different companies and you're bidding on the same customer. There's ethical problems there. So no, you won't be able to do 2 companies at the same time as a rule. Good question though. What are the advantages of working remotely? Well, that's up to you. I can tell you working remotely, and I've been working remotely now for 20 years, the advantage is this. If I have to visit clients, which I do every single day, it doesn't make any difference for me to go to the office. So for me, I work remotely. Now, here's the thing. I like to live in Florida. I love Florida, right? Nobody's hiring cloud architects in Florida, but we cloud architects living in Florida can work elsewhere. The reason is if you're going to hire a cloud architect, you've got to have some significant business. And that means big businesses that need us. There's not a lot of big businesses headquartered in Florida or big data centers in Florida. So living in Palm Beach, what's my day like? Go to California, go to Atlanta, go to Dallas, go to Houston, go to Reston, Virginia, Research Triangle Park, New York, New Jersey, places that do business. Chicago has some business over there. Kansas City has a little bit of business over there. London's got plenty of business. Belgium's got plenty of business. Paris has plenty of business. Madrid in Spain has plenty of business. You get sensing the point? We're living where we went and we're traveling to our clients. That's it. Now, being at home, nobody can see what you're doing. You could be working in your shorts with a suit up top. Nobody's going to know. Working at home means you don't need to pay for gas or diesel to drive to your destination, which can save you money, especially with the global fuel supply. Working from home means you no longer need to take public transportation or spend money on parking, etc. But here's the disadvantage of working from home. You never stop working. In the office, if you're there from like 8 to 6, you're only there 10 hours a day. But in your office, you're constantly, when you're in your home office, getting done. There is no, when you work remote, there is no time off. So that's kind of the things you've got to manage. So keep that in the back of your mind. I prefer to work remotely. Claudia, how long does it take for someone to become a cloud architect without experience? On average, it's taking us about 8 months to get someone their first cloud architect job, 8 to 12 if they have no experience. Now, mind you, there's 500 hours of training in our training program. This is not some basic certified solution architect professional, nothing. This is real training. So it takes us about 8 to 12 months for somebody. And we let students stay in our program until they're hired or a year passes. Nobody needs a full year. That's why we're so successful at getting everybody hired, because we do the branding, the resume work, the skills training, the interview training, the salary negotiation training, the leadership training, the sales training, and then all the architecture training. By comparison, by putting it together, that's why our people are getting hired. But it takes a good 8 to 12 months. Now, for people that have a background in tech, if they can forget the engineering fast, we're dealing with about 4 months. For the people that want to hold on to their engineering, hold on to them, they take 8 to 12 months too. I've had sooner. For example, I had this Richard Afukar, who's one of my first students. He was in and out and hired by AWS inside of 3 weeks. I had a Delroy Bat, and he had 3 job offers within the first 3 weeks of being in my program. I had a Joe Millen. He is hired as a senior cloud architect by AWS. It's his first cloud job, but he had networking background. He was hired within a month of being in our program. But normally speaking, Romanik Ivan Tamba, for example, he's a good example of someone without a background. He was in our program for about 6 months before he got his first job. The person we'll introduce you here was with us for about 10 months, but he just turned 21 and is working as a cloud architect. So with youth, it's a little harder. Why? Because, and there's a video we produced about being elder versus being younger. When somebody's young, it's a lot harder to get them hired because we assume that people that are 40 have some life experience and some wisdom. With youth, it's much harder. And that's why when we talk about the youth that get hired, that's why I mention them. Because it's nothing for me to get a 40-year-old hired that does the training. It's a lot harder for a 20 or 25-year-old because you assume what kind of life experience do they have. But we do it every day. We do it every day. But the only people that get hired are the students that actually do the work. If they do the work, then they get hired. Cameron, what do you want to do? If you desire to be a cloud engineer, it's a good starting place. If you desire to be a cloud architect, that's your good starting place. What do you desire to do? There is no starting job that you have to do. That's crazy. There is no rule that says you must do this. Imagine telling a doctor, hey, you got to be an orderly at a hospital first. It doesn't work that way. What job do you want, Cameron? That's your starting point. Now, don't get me wrong. You're not going to be a VP at the start. You're not going to be a director at the start. You're not going to be an enterprise architect at the start. But people get solution architect jobs all the time with no background. AWS calls it an associate solutions architect. They hire people with no background whatsoever all the time, constantly. But they've got to have knowledge, and it's not certification knowledge. So, Cameron, what would you like to do with your life? That's what you should do. Where would you want to be long term? That's where you should go. Tell us that, and we can help you. If you're here, hit the like button, please. If you're not a subscriber, comment and subscribe if you're having a good time. Signals the algorithm we're doing things. Hello, Mike. Thank you for the great content. For someone with a career in systems and networks, that's the right background. How much do you need to know about other specializations such as databases? We need to know database analytics. We don't touch that stuff. That's another career. So analytics and data modeling, that's a data scientist, a data analyst. It's a totally different career. We need to know network, data center, and cloud concepts. What does that mean? It means networking things, BGP, OSPF, WAN protocols, WAN private lines such as Ethernet over MPLS, Ethernet private lines, IPsec tunnels, SSL tunnels, software-defined networking, SASE serial lines. It means VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking. Those are the things that you need to know about. It means IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route aggregation kind of thing. It means ARP and proxy ARP and DNS and DHP, how to architect these systems and how they work. VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, port channel, ether channel, link aggregation groups, etc. It involves knowledge of servers and server virtualization and containers and container orchestration, block storage, object storage, file storage. Knowledge of databases, meaning when to use a relational database versus when to use a NoSQL database. How to scale the databases, read replicas, for example, for relational databases, not with NoSQL databases. Caching, queuing systems and how they work and how to integrate them. The type of storage area networks to use. The type of load balancers to use. When you use an application load balancer versus a network load balancer versus when you stack your load balancers because you need a combination of network and application load balancers. There's that. How do you design your firewall architecture? How do you design your DMZs or demilitarized zones? What stuff goes into your security? That's what the architect does. That's what we need to know. We need to design that, present that, and sell it. So we don't code, we don't configure, We don't do analytics. We don't do DevOps. We don't do SysOps. We design, present, and sell network and data center things. So what's a cloud? I mean, really, when it comes down to it, it's a network, servers, right? Storage, right? Physical load balancers, right? DNS servers, DHCP servers, etc. So when somebody uses the cloud, all they're doing is using a virtualized, rented out data center. So that's the thing. That's exactly the thing. All we do is take them from their network in a data center, their physical network in a data center, and migrate them to the virtual network and data center. Pretty easy, right? Where's the problem? Where's everybody go wrong? They don't learn the network and data center. So they think they're going to move all that stuff to the cloud, but you can't move what you don't understand. So no, but analytics, that's not our thing. Now there are analytics careers. There's big data architects, for example. They're involved in analytics. There's data scientists that are involved in analytics. But for us, design, present, and sell network and data center stuff. That's what you need to know. So the network and data center concepts, it's the sales skills, emotional intelligence skills, leadership skills, ROI modeling skills, executive presence, those kind of skills. That's the architect thing. What is the average salary? Our range is about $100,000 to $300,000 per year for the average graduate of ours. But I'd say the average is about 130 to 150, the average new graduate that we have. Average, but at the bottom end, it's typically around 100,000. At the high end, we've gotten some people close to $300,000 jobs as their first cloud architect job. But they had better soft skills, leadership skills, etc. Real good skills there. And then Chris, you can bring in the next one. I know we have a lot of questions. An IAM architect needs to design IAM solutions, meaning the solution, which means to take a vague problem and design a solution. What type of systems are going to plug into other systems, other systems. Architects design. We don't create. UI skills are creation. That's more of a developer skill. They design. So Active Directory connects to what other federated identity thing, which connects to one other thing. Now, how does Active Directory connect to something that does some specialized logging? How can Active Directory connect to some other thing? Where's the radio servers involved? What's multi-factor authentication? How do we lock this down? Architect is design. So Asha, think about it this way. Building architects design a building. They don't hammer nails. They don't use a saw. They don't use a drill. They design. Architects design. Engineers build. So no, we're not dealing with UI stuff. IAM architects are dealing with how to design identity and access management for a global organization. So who hires them? Only the biggest organizations. Design skills. Chris, you can bring in the next one, but it's a good question there, Asha. Where can you find a good practice exam? I'll give you a few. Review and Prep, Haman Sharma's company does some excellent ones that I like. They're fantastic. Andrew Brown of Exam Pro has some really, really good ones that I find to be pretty good as well. And they're probably the two that I would actually recommend. They're my two favorite. There are some that are out there that are also good, but I get nothing out of saying that about Haman Sharma's Review and Prep, but it's a very inexpensive product. I've sampled it for our students, and I liked it a lot. So I do like those at Review and Prep. Which one? A certificate engineer or an expert with no certificates but made experience with disasters? Well, I don't exactly know what you mean, but made experience with disasters. So I'd rather an expert. I don't care about certifications. They're meaningless to me. Like I say, certifications create the illusion of competency, meaning it's fake. It's an illusion. An illusion. Now, someone that's got trials by fire, again, that's experience, but I don't know if people have learned it right or wrong. So What practice does is it reinforces patterns of behavior, good or bad. So, for example, I've seen most errors that occur are from people that don't really know what they're doing. They're jack of all trades. And a lot of times when a jack of all trades has 20 years experience, it's the most dangerous and damaging experience in the world. And I'd rather somebody with zero experience that I train from scratch. Now, I'm never going to hire anybody because they're certified, and nobody else is either. So I will never, ever, ever hire someone on a certification, except for the CCIE. And that I might think twice, and here's the reason why. To pass the CCIE, it's about 75,000 pages of reading, and you do have to prove competency there. It's not like a paper certification. So if somebody's got a CCIE, I might consider, and I'd consider hiring them for a basic networking job based on certifications alone, but it would be a basic intro level job, even with the CCIE. So I'd say neither. I'm not hiring anybody who's learned by trial by fire. I'm going to interview them, and if they're competent, I'm going to hire them. But if not, I'm not going to hire them either. I'm going to hire someone that's competent. I'm going to hire someone with a good attitude that I like. I'm going to hire someone with energy and enthusiasm and passion that I like. I'm going to hire someone with good interpersonal relationship skills. I'm going to hire somebody that's emotionally intelligent, and I'm going to hire somebody that's competent. I don't care if they've got no experience. I don't care if they've got lots of experience. Competency comes in different flavors. I'm also going to be more likely to hire someone with a better attitude that knows nothing just to teach them than I am on somebody just because they have a certificate. So that's the way I hire people and have for the years. So neither one, honestly. I'm going to hire someone that's competent and capable, someone that's been properly educated, someone with the perfect attitude, the right leadership skills, the right business acumen, emotional intelligence, someone that's going to make my team better. That's the one that's going to take my team worth. I'm going to hire someone that's going to go above and beyond. In faith, I'll give you an example of this guy, Shanur, that I hired 20 years ago. I mean, I should call him Avi, but I didn't. So anyway, I hired him. He interviewed for a network engineering position. He had no network knowledge whatsoever and no network certifications whatsoever. But when I interviewed him, his attitude was incredible. He was one of the most likable people I ever met. Every question I asked him, he answered. The rest of the people lied to me. How does this work? They lied. Shanur, how's this work? Honestly, I don't know. I'm super happy to be here, Mike. I'm just so excited to be here. I'd love a job on your team, and I'll do anything to get it. You know what? At the end of the time, I hired him. He went on to become, he was there for a long time, became the CEO, and has been giving computers and developing computers to people that never in their life would have ever had computers without him. I'm so proud of him. But that's the key. I hire for skills. I hire for attitude. I can train for skills. How can one transition from Azure admin to Azure architect? They're going to need architect training. All jobs want 10 years experience, and no one cares. The first job I wanted 10 years experience. I had 0. The second job I wanted 15 years experience, and I had 6 months. Every job wants that. So you do not need to be an admin. So if you are an admin, here's what you're going to have to do to me. This is going to be a big job to transition from admin to architect. And I'm going to tell you, it'd be easier to transition you if you weren't an admin at all. And here's why. The world has the impression of the admin as the geeky guy or girl that sits behind the desk and the geeky guy that sits behind the desk and only knows how to configure things. Now, that's the brand of an admin. What's the brand of an architect? An executive with lots of presence and je ne sais quoi, leadership skills, sales skills, emotional intelligence, executive presence, etc. So the hardest challenge that you'll have as an admin is getting people to not see you as an admin. Now, if you weren't an admin, you wouldn't have that problem. Because if you are an admin, you have that problem. So what do you need to do? First, look at your CV. If you've got more than 2 certifications, scrap them, get rid of them. So if you've got like an AWS SysOps, an AWS DevOps, or developer associate, trash it, because that's not related to this. It's showing the wrong brand. Next, if you've got a bunch of jargon, EBS, blob, and all this other stuff sitting on there, get rid of that too. Because architects don't touch the tech, they design the tech. So there's that. So the question then is, you're going to have to change your resume. configured Azure blob storage. All right. Get rid of that. Swap it out with migrated storage from on-premises to Azure Blob, which saved organization 13%. If you deployed a bunch of Linux machines, deployed 300 Linux servers to help new web application, which generated $13.6 million new sales. Tested this new application. So if you were testing applications, did a proof of concept that led to a $100 million sale to this customer. So in general, admin work is about the things that you've done. Architect work is about the impact you made to your customer. So if you're an admin, you got to shed that admin brown. So upgrade the language, show business metrics for everything you do, and focus on the transformation. We architects focus on transformation. Admins focus on configuration. So because of that, and architects don't configure ever. So you got to basically raise that. So that's really the key. So first, focus on learning the network and data center skills. Then focus on learning the real cloud skills, the design skills. Then you build your business acumen, your leadership skills, your sales skills, your executive presence, your ability to business acumen, your ROI modeling, your CXO relevancy, your negotiation skills, your leadership skills. Develop those skills. Fix your resume to get rid of the techie brand and create the digital transformation executive brand, and you'll be hired. You'll be hired. That's what it takes. And that's what we've done. We've taken plenty of cloud admins and gotten them hired. But I got to tell you, half of the job is changing the brand, because nobody wants that techie to be an architect. Nobody wants a techie. Keep that in the back of your mind. Eugene, most employers want the following: competency. So we've asked about 10,000 employers and 10,000 recruiters over the last 25 years. HR wants experience. Hiring managers want competency. So Eugene, we have to be very careful between what HR wants and what's on an HR wish list versus what's a hiring manager. HR does the following. If I told you that there are over 5,000, I'm not joking, 5,000 applicants for every single job, there is. And a company like Amazon that's got 2,510 pages of jobs. Oh, wait. So that's impossible, right? So Eugene, here's what companies do. I would like 30-year Olympic gold medals, 400 years experience in this, 200 years experience in this, and this for an entry-level job. Now, Eugene, here's what happens. Somebody's got a lot of junk experience doing a lot of stuff. They beat the HR screening people. And you know what happens? We interview them. I interview somebody. Yeah, tell me about BGP. Well, bridging gap protocol. Okay. Okay, tell me about OSPF. Tell me how I can load share across all these two equal cost links to the cloud without getting out over packets. Okay, how do I scale this? And that's what it turns like. So we interview those. We interview about the first 40 of the people with 3 to 25 years experience, and we can't hire a single one. So I can tell you what I do. I get on the phone with Christina Marino, she's my favorite recruiter, or I call Steve Aracrillian, who also works with ITXL, or any number of great recruiters, and I say, Christina, I need a cloud architect. I need someone that's got sales skills, emotional intelligence skills, leadership skills, executive presence, business acumen. And she calls me back in 24 hours and says, hey, Mike, I got Chow. You're going to love Chow. You talk to her. She's got a personality that wins awards. She's smart as a whip. If you give her something she doesn't know, she's going to figure it out. You put her in front of your customers and they're going to love her. She's got no experience, but I think you should talk to her anyway. You know what's going to happen, Eugene? I'm going to interview her. Why? Because Christina Marino, that I trust over there from ITXL in New York, best recruiting firm I know, told me Chow's awesome. So I'm going to interview Chow. And when I interview Chow, I'm going to meet her and look her in the eyes and I'm going to say, oh my God, she's likable. Wow, she's smart. Wow, she's capable. She has limited experience, but look at what she's able to tell me. I can't live without Chow. I hire her on the spot. Now, Eugene, I'm going to tell you, if I'm at a big company, she's going to get hired because I'm going to hire her. And then 6 months later, HR is going to auto-reject her because she doesn't have the 3 to 5 years experience. But that doesn't matter. She works for me. She's already paid. She's already promoted. And we love Chow. I just picked Chow because I know how great she is. Chow's actually on the other end of the call. She happens to pop in or not, but that's neither here nor the case. That's the key. We don't apply to jobs, ever. Our average student gets 10 to 15 interview requests per day. And they get requests from recruiters or hiring managers directly. We had one student that got hired, and the reason he got hired was the recruiter reached out to them and said, I heard you're part of Go Cloud Careers. You're not certified people. You guys are capable. I need to do that. And Eugene, one day, I had one of the managers from directors from AWS come join our team call, our class call. And he told me why, and my students why he loves our program so much. And he said, hey, look, I can't interview any more techies that don't know transformation or architecture. I'm tired of it. You teach the business acumen, the soft skills, the presentation skills, the sales skills, all that architecture stuff, and the design. That's why I love your people, and that's why so many of our people get hired. Not through him, but through many other hiring managers. AWS hires people with zero experience all the time, constantly. But AWS is smart. They don't hire people with no experience that aren't capable. They hire greatness, people that are capable, with or without experience, because what they care is what employers care about. Employers care about the following, Eugene: competency or the ability to do the job. Number 2, can they trust you? Number 3, do they think you're safe? Meaning, you know what you know what you don't know, so you don't make a big difference. 4, they're looking for energetic, enthusiastic, passionate about people about the work. 5, they're looking for what's called an energizer, someone that brings out the best in others. 6, they're looking for people that'll go above and beyond. And 7, they're looking for team players. You ask 1,000 hiring managers, and they will tell you that list. We've asked probably 20, 30, 40,000 over the last 25 years, and that's where our list comes from. And yes, lots of people get jobs with no experience, including me. Chris, you can bring in the next one. Claudia, I can tell you this. I'm going to be nice to you. I've been coaching people for over 20 years, and I got over 100 cloud architects hired this year. Whoever gave you that advice, I'd like to ask him how many cloud architects he got hired this year. I can tell you this. I would never become a cloud engineer if I wanted to become a cloud architect or become a cloud architect. And if I wanted to be a cloud engineer, I'd become a cloud engineer. If I wanted to be an airplane pilot, I would study to be an airplane pilot, not a flight attendant. And I know how to practice medicine because I did it. I wouldn't become a nurse before I'd go to a doctor. So how you choose to do it, it's up to you. But we've gotten 100 people cloud architect jobs this year. One of them had cloud engineering experience. One of them. And when he got hired by AWS, he had to present. He worked really, really hard to unlearn all of his cloud engineering things before he went there. Jawad is an amazing cloud architect who was also an amazing cloud engineer first. But when he presented to them and got hired by AWS, and he did great, he sucked out all that engineering and only told them architect story. And you can see his story on his channel. And he is the only one of the last 100 people or so that ever had any cloud engineering background. And because of that, Claudia, you know what we had to do? We had to work real hard to get the engineering off of his brand. I personally did a lot of resume work with him, and my team did to suck off all the engineering, and that's how we got him hired. How long does it take to become engineer, Claudia? A little longer than it takes to become a cloud architect because there's a lot more to learn. So it would take me about a year to get you hired as a cloud architect. I'm a cloud engineer, about 8 months to a year as a cloud architect. And here's the reason why. The cloud engineering job needs so much more substance. The cloud architect is a polished up business executive that knows how to design tech and how to build teams to help them design tech. So much more soft skills, business, leadership, emotional intelligence, etc. Now that cloud engineer is a techie. So for that cloud engineer, first we got to teach you the same network and data center skills as the architect. And then you got to get a lot of hands-on skills. So hands-on building skills, hands-on scripting skills, which means you need to learn to code to be an engineer. Bash shell scripting, Python scripting, definitely there. Now to be a cloud engineer, you're going to be hands-on. And most of the stuff that you're going to be hands-on with are big servers that are going to be Linux. So you got to get really good hands-on Linux skills for the cloud engineer. And next, after that, you're going to get used to infrastructure as code. So I got to tell you, Claudia, it's a lot easier for me to get someone an architect job than an engineering job, because it's a lot harder to do that. So I have an engineering program, and it's a good program, and our students are going to get hired. But why did I create it? Because a guy like me designs it, beautiful document, lots of pretty PowerPoint slides, etc. Some graphics, which usually are done in InDesign at my level. At the bottom, when you're a junior architect, you'll be designing your things with like a Lucid chart or what do you call it? I like a Draw.io or a Visio. When you reach my level, you take a napkin, you draw a picture of it, and you send it to the graphics team, and they've got a graphic artist that can make it look brilliant in InDesign, for example. So there's that. But it takes at least as long, if not longer, to become a cloud engineer than a cloud architect, because there's much more to learn tech-wise. But I tell you also this, it also depends on who you are. Meaning, if you're used to giving presentations and used to selling, it's super easy to turn you into an architect. But if you've never given a presentation in your life and you don't like to talk to people, it might be easier to become an engineer. So it's depending upon you and your goals. Are you an outgoing person? Do you like to sell? Can you form friendships easily? Do people look at you as a leader? Then it's nothing for you to become the architect. Then it's just learning the tech pieces and the executive piece, etc. But if you can't give a speech and you can't write well, it'll be a lot easier to become an engineer. So the real key is, what do you want to do? That's the only thing you should do. There are no rules. What do you want to do? That's what I would do. Dizzy Will, you've been pursuing an accounting degree, but it's burning you out. I don't blame you. When I was in my MBAs, when I had to do accounting and look at balance sheets, etc., let me tell you, that was no fun for me. Now, I actually enjoyed finance, but I've got lots of accountants I've worked with, and here's kind of the really great things. And actually, while we're at it, Milad was one of our students who just got his first cloud architect job. And he just posted in the chat box, "Thank you for helping us get my first cloud architect job." We got him his first cloud architect job, and we're super excited to have him. So Milad, thank you so much. It was wonderful when we first met you about a year ago. When I just started this company, you joined our program. And now I'm very happy and very proud to see you as a cloud architect and as a working cloud architect. So going back to Dizzy Will, you've been pursuing an accounting degree for a while. Do what you love. Do what you love. If you want to become a cloud architect, I think it's a great job. And here's why. Do you know what an accountant does, or a doctor does, or a lawyer does, or an architect? It's the same job. I'm going to tell you right now, it's the same job. So I'll tell you how the job works. I'm going to be a doctor for 5 minutes. So now I'm a doctor. Tal just walks into my office. Tal says, "Mike, my throat hurts." And I say, "Tal, what makes your throat better?" And she says, "If I drink tea." And I say, "Tal, what makes your throat worse?" And she says, "If I yell at you, Mike, it makes it worse." And I say, "Well, don't yell at me, please." And then I say, "Chow, can I take a tongue depressor and look in your throat?" And she says, "Of course." I ask, "Can I examine her?" So I look in her ears, her eyes, her nose, her throat. "Oh my God, Chow, your throat's red." I make a diagnosis. And then I make a treatment plan called a prescription. Chow, if she's not allergic to amoxicillin, it'll be 500 milligrams of amoxicillin 4 times a day for 10 days, and she'll be through. So now there's that. Now today, I'm a lawyer, which I'm not. Or I go to the lawyer, okay? Let's say I get a speeding ticket. Haven't had one in a long time, but let's say I had a speeding ticket. I got 2 in my life. So now I got a speeding ticket. I don't want it on my record, so I go to the lawyer. And I go to the lawyer, and the lawyer says, "How can I help you?" And I said, "I got a speeding ticket, and I don't want it on a record." And the lawyer says, "Could you tell me what happened?" And I said, "I was driving on the road, following with the lane of traffic, and I got pulled over." And this lawyer says, "Oh, did you have out-of-state plates?" And I say, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, you went into a speed trap." And then the lawyer says, "Can I look at the ticket? Let me examine the available evidence." And then the lawyer makes a diagnosis and says, "I can take your system to court. We can probably beat it by doing this, this, and this." That's his plan. And he does it. Now the accountant. Dizzy Will, I go to my accountant at the end of the year. I said, "This is the amount of money I made. Here's my receipts." And the accountant says, "Mike," and I said, "Here's everything." and he tallies it all up. He asks me some questions about the business, what the business invested in, what the business did, the business's revenues, number of employees, etc., etc. He or she looks through the available evidence, all the receipts and everything I give him. He or she makes a diagnosis, and then they file my taxes. And I either get money back or pay money based upon whatever happened. It's the same job. Now that's the architect. Mr. Client, how are you today? Tell me about your business. Mike, I'm trying to cut expenses or I'm trying to grow sales. Okay, you're trying to grow sales. What have you tried? We've tried this and this. What's working? This and this. What's not working? Okay. Mr. Customer, can I examine your current systems and ask your people questions? Of course you can. Make a diagnosis and then make a treatment plan. What's my treatment plan? Called an architecture. So Dizzy, well, you're already doing the same job as an accountant. The lawyer does the same job. Now, what does a consultant do? Hey, guess what? The consultant asks the customer about their business. Asks a lot of questions. Then the consultant says, can I check your business processes? Ask people what's going on and what could work best. And the customer says yes. Then the management consultant makes a diagnosis, and the management consultant makes a plan to make the business better, and it's called the business architecture. All of these jobs are the same. Now you know why the architect job fits in so nicely into business and how it's the exact opposite of engineering, which is, hey, great, now I've got these requirements, how do I build it? Both jobs are great, but now you know the difference. Chris, I don't know if there's any other questions. I know we're short on time, but I might be able to get to one or two. Caro 747, if you're not interested in becoming a cloud engineer, but not also so good at giving presentations or public speak, could you still become a cloud architect? Yes, but you got to get trained on how to speak. Nobody's naturally a good public speaker. I wasn't. Nobody is. There's training. That's the point of education. And I want to make a clear difference between training and education because they're not the same. Actually, we should separate the difference between training and professional development. Training is what you train a seal. Like you want to place a seal that's going to put a nose on his ring and he's going to play with balls. That seals are trained. Junior level skills are trained. Trained. Junior level skills like how do you configure things? How to give a presentation, that's not training. That's professional development and it needs a very skillful person. We provide professional development. We don't do training. We get our people hired by providing quality education. The kind of training and education that would cost 50 grand if we charge for it right. It's a $50,000 course. And our competitors that actually do what we do actually do charge $50,000 to master's degrees programs. So that's what we're doing. So keep that in the back of your mind. These skills are learnable. Nobody is born with the stellar presentation skills. Nobody knows how to walk in the room with a CEO and examine their business. Nobody naturally knows how to read a financial statement. Nobody knows how to negotiate a deal. These are taught skills. You know what? Human beings don't even know how to eat on their own. I'm not joking. It's not like a cat. A cat can be left in the wilderness and it'll find a way to survive, most likely. Humans will die without parental intervention because we have no skills naturally. We learn it all. Here's the good news, Caro 747. We learn fast. We learn good and we can learn anything that we want. Anything that we put our mind and heart to, we can do. So do whatever you like. Be great at it. And never let anything stop you. I possibly could do one more question. I'll do one last question. I've watched your videos. Can you pass the phone interview even though you're not strong enough in networking, have the emotional intelligence and presentation skills? You used to be a management consultant? Might. I don't know what you know about networking and data center concepts. So because of that, I have no idea. But if you worked as a management consultant, chances are you'd probably pass the intro screen. Probably do pretty well with it. Probably would. In any case, that's the last question I can take for today. I want to remind you of three things. Thing one to remind you is that for right now, we are temporarily offering a 30% off discount to help you reach your potential, to help you get hired or promoted. Times are getting tough out there, and I don't want anybody left behind. So we're temporarily, as long as we can do it, which isn't going to be long, offering you 30% off using discount coupon code POTENTIAL. Potential. Next, this Thursday this week, we have a completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. Love to see you join that. I'll tell you everything you need to know to get your first cloud architect job. And in the second half of the hour, we'll come up Zoom. It'll be on Zoom, so you can ask any question you want. We'll tell you how to leverage your life experience. We'll tell you exactly what the hiring manager wants in a perfect employee. We'll tell you, we'll define the role. Exactly. We'll go through it step by step. We'll tell you what needs to be on your resume. We'll tell you the kind of practice things you need to do. We'll tell you to skip HR. And we'll tell you how to get cloud hired. So please join us completely free. And lastly, on the week of June 14th, which is next week, we're going to have a completely free Azure Solutions Architect Expert Bootcamp. Please join us. The link is in the description and the chat box. Please join us. It's completely free. Tell a friend. So at this point, thank you so much for joining us. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe and hit the bell. If you're here and you had a good time, please hit the like button and signal the algorithm to show our content to more people. Hope you had a wonderful day today, and I look forward to meeting you another day. Take care, everybody. Let's get you all cloud higher.